you as well about something that's causing a little bit of controversy to do with ministerial intervention. It's around ministers blocking research grants. They've intervened so there would not be taxpayer money for several projects. 11 initially were revealed that Simon Birmingham intervened in, one of them being a project titled Soviet Cinema in Hollywood Before the Blacklist. Is it fair enough that we're not shelving out quite a bit of taxpayer money for that to happen?
No, it's not. This is now our own government, full of freedom of speech hypocrites, introducing their own blacklist. And I think academic freedom in this country is vital. And I think when researchers start saying, we've got a very rigorous process at the moment that is very competitive, and the rejection rates are very, very high, and it's peer reviewed. And when we've got ministers saying, we are going to, after projects have been approved and through that rigorous process, we're going to say no to them because we just don't like them. That has an enormous chilling effect in the society, because then you have researchers who don't look into issues to see what we can learn about the world around us, learn about other countries, learn about our own culture. They end up crafting their research grants on what they think any particular minister will like. So
but I mean, I don't.
Outrageous.
How narrow is it really, Adam Bandt, when you're taking another thing that Simon Birmingham blocked was post-Orientalist arts in the Strait of Gibraltar? That's pretty niche.
Well, when you do research, you don't always know what you're going to find. I mean, the classic example outside of the humanities has been research in an astrophysics area, I think it was, ended up assisting with the development of Wi-Fi. Looking at other cultures often tells you things about your own. Anyone who's studied another language will know that you often learn more about your own language when you study another language, and same it is with cultures. Now, look, there's probably researchers out there who would be researching things that I find objectionable. There's probably an economics professor out there saying,
but it's not,
how we cut the minimum wage. And it's not about whether
it's not so much objectionable, though, Adam Bandt. And it's not so much objectionable. I mean, you mentioned astrophysics. It's easy to see how a study in that could have offshoots. But post-Orientalist arts in the Strait of Gibraltar, is that really going to be something that's going to transform anyone's life in Australia?
I don't know, but I trust the people who are on the Australia Research Council, who've looked over all of the applications coming in, who think that this is a worthwhile field of endeavour. And I'm calling on the Minister to reinstate the funding for those 11 projects, because when we get to the point where politicians are able to say, I don't like that particular research project, we are in a very, very dangerous position indeed. So the Minister has to reinstate the projects and has to back away from this push to interfere with academic freedom. And again, look, let's stick with the...
You've got choices as well, though, Adam Bandt. You've got choices with taxpayer money, though, right? So if you think about it from this point of view, whether you're going to tip money into, say, a public primary school that's struggling, or another one, beauty and ugliness as persuasive tools in changing China's gender norms. I mean, most Australians, would you agree, would probably think, let's give more money to high schools and primary schools?
Let's introduce a Buffett rule and ask millionaires to pay a minimum proportion of their tax, and then we can have both. Like, this is not an either-or. And this is where it gets very dangerous, because there's probably someone in the humanities school somewhere who's researching, who has political views that I disagree with, who might be researching how we get rid of the minimum wage, or how we cut Austudy even further, and cut youth allowance and New Start even further, because apparently that's going to be good for the economy. Now, I will very strongly disagree with those views, but will I say they don't have the right to pursue them? No, I won't. And for a party that has been beating its chest publicly saying that we need freedom of speech in our universities and we need to have studies in defence of Western civilisation and so on, for them all of a sudden to turn around now and say that one of those key principles, which is academic freedom, which is the right of people to pursue areas of their own interest free from government interference, it should now be thrown overboard just because a minister doesn't like them, is utterly hypocritical, and they've got to reverse this decision.
But what the minister has today announced that they're going to bring in a national interest test. They'll publish any projects that have been denied. And what the argument has come from the previous minister and the current one is, well, Australians would agree with this. This isn't a great use of money. When you go back to that example of post-Orientalist arts, in the Strait of Gibraltar, do you think they are probably broadly right?
You walk into any library, you will find books on the shelf and you will think, who could possibly be interested in that? But chances are there is someone, and there's contributing to the broader stock of human knowledge is a very, very important test. And this is a very, very competitive process with very high rejection rates. And if there are areas where we can usefully contribute to the stock of human knowledge, and other people have looked at that and run the ruler over that, then it's not up to me to second guess them. And I don't think it's enough to simply say that we'll publish the reasons. I think the minister needs to reverse the decision and restate a commitment to saying, look, where the peer review process has been through and where the experts have looked at it and they think this contributes to the stock of common knowledge, even though it might be something I have no interest in, then that is why we have those bodies there. And can I put the flip side? What happens when, if a minister gets in who you disagree with, is it the case then that everything is open slather and all of a sudden now our research, what if Pauline Hanson, for example, decides to extract a concession from the next minister that there's going to be no further research on climate change? Should we allow ministers to all of a sudden start cutting research on the basis that they don't like it? It's a very, very dangerous path indeed.
Green